for getting here. And I'm sure y'all just heard it. We're recording this today. So I'm glad to see y'all here. We want to welcome you to our training. What happens when parents and schools disagree? Louisiana Special Education Dispute Resolution Options. This training is going to provide you with an overview of the options available for parents and schools when they disagree on topics related to the education of children with disabilities. This training is helpful and relevant to you, and we want to do some interactive activities and there's an evaluation at the end. The evaluation is like 2 minutes. It helps us keep improving this training. Everyone completing the evaluation can get a copy of this PowerPoint and a certificate of attendance if you need it. Now, if you lose audio or video, my experience is if you wait a few minutes, your internet is going to try and link back in with Zoom, or maybe vice versa. I don't know. But if it doesn't work, you can go to the email, the confirmation email that you got, and you can try and click back in again. Or you can use one of the phone numbers included in that email, that registration confirmation. We want you to submit questions in the chat box. You're also going to have a question and answer time at the end of the training to be able to ask questions. So, oh, I forgot Wallace. Wallace did this like this, and it's actually me and Wallace that are bringing this to you today. I'm going to be the presenter for this training, but I promise you it wouldn't work without Wallace behind the scenes making everything work and work as smoothly as it does. So, like I said, it's what happens when parents and schools disagree. Louisiana Special Education Dispute Resolution Options. Families Helping Families of Southwest Louisiana is one of 10 nonprofit family resource centers in the Families Helping Families network of centers. We're here to provide support to parents of children, youth, and adults with disabilities or special health care needs. We do this through individual assistance, information sharing, outreach, and trainings. This training was created with funding from the United States Department of Education to the Louisiana Parent Training and Information Center, which is a program of Families Helping Families of Greater New Orleans. And they did it in collaboration with the Louisiana Department of Education. So we, a part of the statewide network of Families Helping Family Centers, could use it. In order to continue to receive funding to provide these free trainings, we need you to complete that evaluation that I mentioned at the end. It's going to help us improve the training and demonstrates the need for continued funding to provide these trainings free of charge. I'm going to talk to you about it again at the end. It's 2 minutes. Everyone's going to get a copy of the PowerPoint and a certificate of attendance. I told you about what to do if you lose audio. We provide webinars and in-person trainings on special education and disability-related topics. Check out our website and our Facebook page. Our website is www.FHFSWLA.org. But check those places regularly and register for any upcoming training that might be interesting to you. You can also request training that we're not currently doing or that we haven't even thought of doing on that evaluation. There's a couple of places where you can fill in the blanks with things. Stick it in one of those places. If you're interested in a topic, there's probably other people that are interested in it too. So before I start the main body of the webinar, I wanted to talk a little bit about LACAN. LACAN is Louisiana Council's Advocacy Network. It's a great grassroots statewide advocacy network. I'm the LACAN leader in this region, Region 5, right smack in the middle. Even though there's 10 LDH regions, there's 9 of us, because if you see the first lady, she covers region 1 and 10 because they're like right next to each other. So what do? We work with families to understand what's going on in the legislative process and the Bessie process and how they can affect things going on in those processes. How do we do it? Um, every year we have community input. We just did that in August. And then the Louisiana Developmental Disability Council comes up with the legislative agenda. They have a planning, you can check their website too. They have a planning committee coming up where, not planning committee, a legislative agenda ad hoc committee, I believe is what it's called, where they're going to make a committee's going to make an initial um, uh, stab at the legislative agenda, but then it has to go to the full DD Council for the full DD Council to decide. And both of those meetings are public meetings, by the way. You can attend and you can get accommodations if you have a disability. Um, from there, we're going to, and maybe not all in exactly this order, but one of the things is legislative roundtables. So we have roundtables every year where the DD Council, the content experts, um, talk about our legislative agenda items and quite possibly things that have come up because that does happen at times. Um, and we invite legislators. We have a good group of legislators in the area. Um, both Senator Abraham and Senator Stein often attend our roundtables, and some of the uh, representatives too. But people get to tell their story, and I'll help you craft a story that makes some impact. Yeah, so it's not like you're going to have to come up with the story by yourself, right? There's more help than or more going on than I'm explaining right here. What you're really signing up for, and if I know Wallace, he's already dropped the link in the chat, is for the information and action alerts. I know of no other way to learn about the developmental disability system and the special education system better than reading those information and action alerts. Their emails that it tells the information at the beginning quite as clear as possible, and then there's a backstory in there too if you're interested in going to the links. What else do? I help set up individual legislative visits. Legislators have talked to me for years now. They want to talk to you. They want to talk to your constituent. Again, you have a story to tell, and I can help you put that story together to be impactful, to use here, to use if you bump into your legislator at the state fair or at in the elevator, when you have just a few minutes, just a bit of time to be able to tell them your story, because they don't know if they don't have people like us telling it. And then we have yellow shirt days. We have remodeled. I don't know if that's the way you say it for clothes, but remodeled our yellow shirts. They're pretty teal and uh, a lighter yellow color. You can kind of see it on the logo in the bottom right corner. Uh, and the big color is still yellow, but it's teal now, and or that's what they tell me that color is. So those will be going out to people that want to go to yellow shirt days, and some people at yellow shirt days are going to tell their story. Okay, you can read all of this. I'm not going to read it all to you. I'm just hoping to get you started and get you interested in it, and you'll hear lots more from me if you join. So let's have an icebreaker. I like icebreakers. I like an icebreaker is a good way for us to take care of ourselves and each other. I want you to use the chat box. Um, it's gonna let us make sure that everybody can use the chat box. I was on a meeting the other day and the chat box wasn't working, as well as you can tell me if you hear me because you'll answer the question. The question is a chore that you absolutely hate doing. So, I hate cleaning the bathroom. I just not one of my favorite chores, not one of my favorite household chores. So, Wallace, do you want to tell me if anybody else is answering?
Uh, I'm kind of with you on that too. I hate cleaning their bathroom too. But other than that, yeah, I don't see any responses.
Okay. How many people do we have with us today?
Hmm, looks like about 7.
Okay, so I need y'all to at least type yes into the chat box if y'all can hear me, so that I know I'm not talking to myself. I'm assuming that everybody can hear me because Wallace can, but Wallace and I are sort of on the same system.
And I'm seeing some yeses.
Okay, groovy. So you don't have to answer the question. It's just for us to give us a second to think about something different, right? Let's talk about our learning goals. So we have several learning goals for today. The special education dispute resolution system is designed to ensure that all students with disabilities are provided a free, appropriate public education. The Louisiana Department of Education is committed to assisting schools and parents in their efforts to resolve disagreements in the least adversarial manner possible. Therefore, the Louisiana Department of Education encourages parents or other concerned people to first contact their school district's director, or in some parishes, they're called the supervisor of special education, before you utilize state level dispute resolution processes. The Louisiana Department of Education has developed several processes for resolving disagreements about the provision of a free, appropriate public education, payment for services obtained, and or a child's eligibility evaluation, level of services, or placement. So there are several processes that you can use for any one of these things. Let's see. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be using acronyms. I try to always give the full meaning and state it also known by, and then give the acronym. I might go back and forth occasionally, but I would like to provide you with a list at the beginning on the front end. Some of the frequently used acronyms you'll hear in this training is LEA. That's your local education agency or the school system. BESSIE is the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. It's also known as the State School Board. LDE, LDOE, SDE, Louisiana Department of Education. IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That's a law. And IEP is the Individualized Education Program. You're also going to see FAPE, which stands for Free Appropriate Public Education. ERP, the Early Resolution Process, and ALJ, which is an independent hearing officer. It stands for Administrative Law Judge, but they want you to know it's an independent hearing officer, or we do want you to know. CADRE is the acronym for the Center for Appropriate Dispute Resolution in Special Education. That's one of the federally funded technical assistance centers for the Office of Special Education Programs at the United States Department of Education. So let's talk about some education tips, because communication tips, because that's so important when there's the possibility that you parents and the school systems may not disagree. So let's go over a little bit of that. If you've got a child who's receiving special education services, You're more than likely really involved with your child's schools and teachers, including planning, reviewing, and assessing your child's educational program. Over time, you'll learn, or you already have learned, how to communicate and negotiate on your child's behalf. While your knowledge, skill, and confidence will naturally increase, there's some specific communication skills that can help you be most successful in developing and maintaining a strong partnership with your child's school. Your passion as a parent sometimes can help you communicate brilliantly, and sometimes it can overtake you. Before you get into dispute resolution options, we want to make sure you're ready to take that next step. The Center for Appropriate Dispute Resolution in Special Education, CADRE, has published a brochure on the steps to success communication with your child's school. So, step one, be mindful of your emotional pressure gauge as you work with your child's school. If you expect to have difficulty when meeting with school personnel, your body and mind are going to be primed for battle. How can you communicate successfully if you're on the verge of overflowing in anguish and outrage? So, step two would be to prioritize and plan. What's the most important thing that needs to be accomplished for your child? Make a list, like write it down. I mean, that's what I did over the years. Write down your questions and possible solutions, and then rank them in order from one to how many ever you have. Actively listen to understand the other person's perspective. If you don't understand what someone's saying, tell him or her. Be direct. I often tell people, I don't understand, or try me again, or tell me a little bit more about that. Listen attentively to understand, not just to respond. And you want to stay on the topic being discussed because it can grow and you can lose track of what you're saying. Clarify your statements if you see a puzzled expression on someone's face and ask them for clarification in return. Paraphrase what you're saying or restate it so you and others are clear in your understanding. Step 5, have options in mind if you can and offer them for discussion as needed. As a parent, you're in a good position to present alternate solutions that might not occur to those who work for the school system. You can use statements like, let's brainstorm possibilities, and or how about we try this. Step 6, remember, you're only human and your school team is only human too. If someone's been really helpful, acknowledge those efforts. If you've made a mistake or caused offense, say you're sorry. Making an apology says you're human and helps to humanize what's sometimes a formal process. So, we're going to have a link to step 6 to success and with your child's school and our resources slide at the end. And like when you get your copy of the PowerPoint, it should be a hot link that you can just click on. So the first thing that I want to talk about is IEP facilitation. It's available to parents and school districts. Typically, an IEP facilitator is brought in when parents and school district staff are having difficulties communicating with one another regarding the needs of the student. The IEP facilitator assists in creating an atmosphere for fair communication and also oversees the successful drafting of an IEP for the student. Either the parent or the school district can request an IEP facilitation, but since the process is voluntary, both sides have to agree to participate. This process can be initiated by a request to the legal division, and the service is provided at no cost to the parent or the school district. And in case I didn't say it before, because sometimes I forget, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. Wallace will tell me as soon as he gets to them, okay? So let's look at the website. We're going to look at where you find the information you need to request the IEP facilitation. You go to the Louisiana Department of Education website. It's https://DOE.Louisiana, spell it out, .gov/. Okay, that's the Louisiana Department of Education's website. On the home page, you're going to see the blue arrow that's pointing to families and students. Check there to go to the families and students webpage. So this is the landing page for family and students. On that page, where the blue arrow is pointing, click on Family Support Resources. That's going to take you to where you can find special education dispute resolution information. On the Family Support Resources webpage, you scroll down until you see the bar for Special Education Dispute Resolution. Then you click on that bar. That's going to take you to the Special Education Dispute Resolution page. On that dispute resolution page, scroll down till you see IEP Facilitation Request Form, where the blue arrow is pointing on the screen, and click that IEP Facilitation Request Form. Then this is what you say. You should see. This is page 1 of the form you or the school district would need to complete. As you can see, they request your personal information, a little background information, and some available dates. The second page is where you sign and you inform them if you have any special needs. Like maybe you have accessibility needs or translation needs or interpreter needs of your own. This page also is there to inform you need to be prepared to be at the meeting for 3 hours. So listen close. You have to print this out, fill it out, print it out, sign it, and then there's 3 ways that you can send it: mail, fax, or email. There's no other way to be able to get this form to them other than mailing it, faxing it, or emailing it. And the address is right there on the form. So let's look at the informal complaints early resolution process. Parents of children with disabilities may file informal complaints. The implementation of the informal complaint early resolution process, or ERP, draws on the traditional models of parents and school districts working cooperatively in the educational interest of children to achieve their shared goals of meeting the educational needs of students with disabilities. Informal complaints can be made directly to the Louisiana Department of Education or directly to the school district. You can email special education, it's all one word, at la.gov. Informal complaints made to the Louisiana Department of Education will be made through the Louisiana Department of Education's intake coordinators, who's then going to refer the complaint to the early resolution process representative of the school district where your children are at. They should do it immediately, but if possible, but not later than 2 calendar days after receiving the complaint. Then within 15 days of filing an informal complaint, the parent in the school district shall sign a resolution agreement. So they're going to meet, come up with an agreement, we hope, or maybe have an agreement agreement in writing to extend that resolution process. If no resolution agreement or extension is signed, the school district's early resolution process ERP representative shall provide the parent with a description of the Louisiana Department of Education dispute resolution options, acknowledged by a written receipt. So they need to have you sign something that you got it. How we doing for questions, Wallace?
Not seeing any questions at this time.
Okay. So let's do a little check your knowledge, a little poll. For a formal complaint, the alleged violation must have occurred not more than blank days prior to the date the complaint is received. You have three choices: 6 months, B is 1 year, and C is 2 years. So what do y'all think? Looks like there's 7 of us here and only a couple of people have answered. Okay, I'm going to wait a few more seconds to give anybody else that wants to answer a chance to get in there. Okay, Wallace, you can stop sharing and or share the results or whatever it is that you do. I'm going to go on. So the correct answer is C, 2 years. And that's fairly new in Louisiana. So if y'all didn't get it, don't feel bad, but put it in the, I tell people, put it in the back of your head that that time has been expanded to 2 years in law in Louisiana. So, do we have people chatting, Wallace? Or are we still good? Looks like we're still good.
Yeah, we're still good.
Okay. Let's see if I can catch up with myself. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that formal complaint, right? The formal complaint investigation. A parent, adult, student, individual, or organization can file a signed written complaint by U.S. mail, fax, email, or TDD with the Louisiana Department of Education. Formal administrative complaints procedures are developed under the supervisory jurisdiction of the Louisiana Department of Education. So they're supposed to do this. That's part of their responsibility. They do it to address allegations that a school district is violating a requirement of Part B of IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Formal complaints must be written and signed. So you can type it, but you need to sign it in your handwriting, right? So you can type on the form, but you sign it in your handwriting. Unless the parties have already attempted an informal early resolution on the same issues, the complaint's going to be forwarded to the school district for an opportunity for local level resolution for the early resolution process, the ERP, before the complaint investigation. The party filing the complaint is supposed to forward a copy of the complaint to the school district or public agency serving the student at the same time they send the complaint to the Louisiana Department of Education. As a matter of fact, you have to write down the date that you sent it to the school system, and the person that you sent it to. So the complaint has to allege a violation that occurred not more than 2 years prior to the date the complaint is received. The Louisiana Department of Education will provide the school district an opportunity to respond to the complaint or recommend a proposal to resolve the complaint through the ERP or mediation. Upon expiring of a 15-day resolution period, the complaint's reviewed and the school district is required to provide a response and supporting information to the investigator. Depending on the type of complaint, the Louisiana Department of Education can conduct an on-site visit. They don't have to, but they could. The complaint is given the opportunity, the complainant, typically the parent or the adult with a disability, is given the opportunity to provide additional information to the Louisiana Department of Education, either orally or in writing during the course of the investigation. All the relevant information is reviewed and a determination is made as to whether the school district is violating a requirement of applicable federal and state statutes. My throat's getting dry here. The Louisiana Department of Education has 60 days from the receipt of the complaint or 45 days from the end of the early resolution process period to issue a written decision to all parties on each of the allegations in the complaint. So let's do that thing with the website again. We're going to look at where the information is that you need to request the formal complaint. So we told you about how to get to the dispute resolution page. And then you, on that same page, you want to scroll down until you see formal complaint request form, where the blue arrow is pointing, and click on that form or click on those words. That page is, this is page 1 of the request for special education formal complaint investigation. As you can see, it's similar to the IEP facilitation request in regards to personal information. But there's a big difference with the formal complaint investigation. The blue arrow is pointing to a box that asks you to describe the problem or the nature of the dispute. What are the relevant facts, the significant people, the dates, and/or events? They also want to know if you have a proposal or resolution for the stated dispute or problem. Additionally, they ask if you have any documents the investigator should review that support the allegations. If you have documents, you need to write out an exhibit list. An exhibit list is basically 1 and the name of the document, 2 and the name of the document. The second page is your signature, and you tell them again if you have any formal needs. You can inform them about accessibility needs, translation needs, interpreter needs. You also have to notify the school district. You're going to include the date you notified the school district, where the gold arrow with the number 1 is pointing. You sign it where that number 2 is pointing. And then you check off that you're submitting all necessary information. Part of this information is that box of information with the when, where, and how the violation took place and your proposed solution. You can also notify Louisiana Department of Education if you need the translator, the interpreter, or another accessibility need. Again, there's only 3 ways to get this to them. You print it out, you sign it, and you mail it, fax it, or email it. When you look on the website, there's a red box around part of the words in there. That doesn't mean anything. They just want you to notice it. It doesn't click it and send it to them. You have to mail it, fax it, or email it. Okay, we're up to another poll. This one is about mediation. Mediations are voluntary for... Wallace, did you launch the poll?
I'm trying to pull it up.
It's
It'll
okay.
take me a minute.
It's
Oh, we
okay.
gotta go to the back button to choose the second. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so they're voluntary for A, parents, B, the school, or C, both parents and the school. I'll just wait a few more seconds. Sounds like more people have said parents and schools. You can close it, share it, whatever it is that you do with it, Wallace. Doesn't want to
Okay,
behave.
is it
Okay,
ready?
now I've got it. Nope, my computer just didn't want to behave. So the correct answer is C, both parents and schools. So most of y'all had it right. Both parents and schools have to agree to do mediation. So let's learn a little bit more about the mediation process. Mediation is available to resolve a disagreement between parents and the school districts regarding identification, evaluation, placement, services, or the provision of the free appropriate education FAPE to a child with a disability. Parents or school districts may request mediation before, at the same time, or after requesting a due process hearing or complaint investigation. Requesting mediation will not prevent or delay a due process hearing or complaint investigation, and participating in mediation isn't going to impair or waive any other rights of parents. Mediation is a method for discussing and resolving disagreements between parents and school districts with the help of an impartial third person who's been trained in effective mediation techniques. Mediation is a voluntary process, and both parties must agree to participate in order for the mediation session to occur. The mediation sessions are scheduled in a timely manner and held in a location convenient to the parties in the dispute. Mediation services are provided by the Louisiana Department of Education at no cost to parents and school districts. Mediator doesn't make the decisions for y'all, though. He or she facilitates the discussion and the decision making. The discussions in a mediation session are confidential and are not to be used as evidence in subsequent due process hearings or civil court hearings. If the mediation process results in a full or even a partial agreement, the mediator is going to prepare a written mediation agreement that has to be signed by both parties. In addition to describing agreements made in the course of mediation, the mediation agreement will state that all discussions occurred during the mediation are confidential and may not be used as evidence in a due process hearing or civil court proceeding. The signed agreement shall be legally binding on both parties and enforceable in a court of competent jurisdiction. In order to initiate the process, a parent or a school district must send a request for mediation to the legal division of the Louisiana Department of Education. So let's look at where you're going to find that. Again, we're going to go to that dispute resolutions page. And you scroll down until you see the mediation request form where the blue arrow is pointing, and click on those words, mediation request form. This is page 1 of the form you in the school or the school district would need to complete. And as you can see, they request your personal information just like before, a little background information and some available dates. It's quite similar to the IEP facilitation request form. The second page is just your signature, and you inform them if you have special needs like accessibility, translation, or interpreter. They also are letting you know that you need to be prepared to be there for 3 hours. You need to print it out, mail it, fax it, or email like they talk about. That red box doesn't do anything. So let's talk about the due process hearing. The due process hearing is the big thing. Only the parent of a child with a disability or an attorney representing the parent or a school district may request a due process hearing regarding a student with a disability. A due process hearing is a formal proceeding in which evidence is presented to an independent hearing officer to resolve a dispute between the parents of a child with a disability and the school district regarding the identification, evaluation, eligibility, or placement of, or the provision of a free, appropriate public education to a child with a disability. A request for a due process hearing has to be made within 2 years of the date the alleged action forming the basis of the hearing request was known or should have been known. This 2-year limit does not apply if parents were prevented from requesting the hearing because the school district specifically misrepresented that it had resolved the problem, or they withheld pertinent information from the parent that it was required to provide under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. To request a due process hearing, parents or school districts must submit a signed written request with the required information to the address that we're going to show you on the form. Okay? You have to send a copy of the request to the school system as well. It has to include the requester's name, address, telephone number, the child's name and address if it's different from the child's resident school district and the school district the child attends, a statement of the reason for the hearing request, including a description of the problem and a statement of facts relating to the problem, and a proposal, if you have one, for a resolution to the problem to the extent that you know. A request for a due process hearing will not be processed unless it contains all of the information that I've listed, and it's on the form. Once a request for a hearing is received, the Louisiana Department of Education will issue an acknowledgement of receipt, and then they're going to forward it to the request to the Division of Administrative Law, an independent state agency that conducts due process hearings for LDE, Louisiana Department of Education. The Division of Administrative Law will assign an administrative law judge, an ALJ, to the case, and he or she will be provided with a copy of the hearing request. Otherwise, the request remains confidential. The ALJ will then coordinate a pre-hearing conference to discuss the hearing process and establish a schedule for activities related to the hearing. The school district is required to convene a resolution meeting within 15 days of receipt of a request for a due process hearing. If the parent and the school district haven't resolved the due process complaint within 30 calendar days of receipt of the request, the due process hearing timeline begins. The 45 calendar day timeline for issuing a final decision begins at the expiration of the 30 calendar day resolution period. The parent and the school district must agree in writing to waive the resolution session or use mediation prior to and instead of conducting that resolution meeting. If the resolution session is waived, the 45-day hearing timeline begins on the date of the waiver. The parent isn't going to be able, or the school system isn't going to be able to raise issues at the hearing that weren't included in the hearing request unless the other parties agree to allow the addition of new issues. Both parties have the right to be accompanied and advised by legal counsel and by individuals with knowledge and training with respect to special education or the problems of students with disabilities. It's my experience the school system does bring their attorney. They have the right to present evidence, confront, cross-examine, and compel the attendance of witnesses. They can prohibit the introduction of any evidence at the hearing that wasn't disclosed 5 business days prior to the hearing. They can separate the witnesses so they don't hear each other's testimony, and an interpreter can be provided if needed. The parent also has the right to decide whether the child attends the meeting or not. The parent has the right to have the hearing open or closed to the public, and the parent has the right to obtain a written or electronic verbatim transcript of the proceedings, as well as a written or electronic copy of the ALJ Administrative Law Judge's written decision, including findings of facts, conclusions, and orders, and get that without cost to the parent. Before the hearing, the parent's entitled to a copy of their child's education record, including all tests and reports upon which the school's proposed action is based. In addition, at least 5 business days before the date of the hearing, the parent and the school district must disclose to each other the evaluations each intends to use in the hearing. Copies of all evaluations and recommendations based on those evaluations must be exchanged by that deadline. If the parent or the school district fails to make these disclosures on time, the hearing officer may bar the evidence from the hearing. If the evaluation is underway and hasn't been completed, you have to make sure and tell each other and tell that independent hearing officer, the ALJ. The decision of the hearing officer is made on substantive grounds based on a determination whether the school district provided the child with a free appropriate public education, FAPE. If the request for a hearing includes or is based on an alleged procedural violation, the hearing officer may find that the child did not receive the free appropriate public education only if he or she finds that the procedural violations occurred and that they impeded the child's right to a free appropriate education, significantly impeded the parent's opportunity to participate in the decision-making process regarding the provision of free appropriate public education, or deprive the child of educational benefits. As part of his or her decision and order, the ALJ, the administrative law judge, may order the school district to comply with the procedural requirements. The independent hearing officer must conduct the hearing and mail the parent and school district a written decision within 45 days from the end of the resolution period. The 45-day timeline may be extended if the independent hearing officer grants a request for a specific extension of time from the parent or the school district. The independent hearings officer's decision is final, and the orders must be implemented unless the parent or school district files a civil action in state or federal court of competent jurisdiction within 90 days of receipt of the notification of findings and decisions from the hearing officer. The LDOE, Louisiana Department of Education, is responsible for the costs of conducting the hearing. Each party is responsible for the costs of their participation in the hearing. So if there's witness fees, attorney's fees, costs of copying documents, those things are the responsibility of each party. As part of his or her decision and order, the ALJ, the administrative law judge, may order the school district to comply with procedural requirements. Oh, am I doing that one over again? I think I'm doing that one over again, you guys. Sorry. So let's go to the next poll. I think this is the last one, huh, Wallace? The Louisiana Department of Education.
I'm looking forward to launch it.
The Louisiana Department of Education is responsible for the following costs for the due process hearing. So give us just a second to make the Zoom behave. So A, witness fees and attorney fees. B, only witness fees. Or C, neither witness or attorney fees. So the Louisiana Department of Education is responsible for which of the following costs? I'll give it just a couple of more seconds. So if you want to get in there now. Well, it looks like the majority of us are saying neither witness nor attorney fees. And the correct answer is C, neither witness nor attorney fees. Those are the responsibility of each party involved in the process. The Louisiana Department of Education is responsible for the costs of conducting the hearing, but witness fees, attorney fees, costs of copying documents, all of that kind of thing is the responsibility of each party. So let's look at where we can find the information you need to request the due process hearing. Again, you go to that dispute resolution page and scroll down till you see due process hearing request form, where the blue arrow is pointing on my screen, and you click on those words. This is page 1 of the request for special education due process request. As you can see, it's similar to the formal complaint request form in regards to personal information. Just like the formal complaint, the blue arrow on the form is pointing to a box that asks you to describe the problem or the nature of the dispute. You need to have the relevant facts, the significant people, the dates, and the events. Then if you've got a proposal or resolution for the stated dispute or problems, you need to share it. Additionally, They ask if you have any documents the investigator should review that support your allegations. If you do, you need an exhibit list. The second page is your signature, and you inform them if you have special needs like a translator or accessibility or interpreter needs. Page 2 also requires the same kind of assurances. You have to notify the other party. That's the information where a gold arrow is. You know, the date and who you sent it to. You have to sign it where the second gold arrow is. You're go through that checklist and check you're submitting all the necessary information. Part of the information is that box with the detailed information about where, when, and how the violations took place and your proposed solution. You also tell the Louisiana Department of Education if you need that translator, interpreter, or some kind of accessibility needs. Again, you print it out, you sign it, and you mail, fax, or email it. That red box doesn't do anything. So let's talk about resources. Everything that I went over in this training can be found in these resources. The first one is the Center for Appropriate Dispute Resolution in Special Education, cadre. The second one is the Louisiana Department of Education Dispute Resolution page. We have another resource on active listening skills. These are important regardless if you use dispute resolution options or you're just working things out without going through dispute resolution. If you need additional support on your parental rights or any other education issue, you can contact us. The phone number is on here. The 1-800-8 number is in here. We're in the Lake Charles area. You can email us, info@FHFSWLA.org. We provide lots of great information on our social media channels. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us, follow us, share our posts, retweet us, whatever it is you do on whichever one of those platforms. Our website's a great place for information. And you can be added to our newsletter and list and find other great resources by going to the website. Now, if y'all remember, I told you I was going to remind you about my evaluation. Wallace typically already has put the link to the evaluation in the chat box. It's also going to be emailed to you in the event you don't get to it immediately. If you return the evaluation, you can get the certificate of attendance and the PowerPoint, where your responses to our evaluations really are taken seriously and help us improve. All of our funders require evaluations to demonstrate the need for training and satisfaction with the training. Complete your evaluation so we can continue doing this training free of charge. And maybe you're here and you didn't officially register. Sometimes people double up on a computer. Let us know in the chat box so we can make sure you get counted and make sure you get a copy of your stuff. And I am open for questions again. I hope you got some hopeful information, but maybe you have questions that were answered today, or maybe you'll have questions afterwards. You're welcome to email me. You're welcome to email at my email, MAELLIOTT, 2 L's and 2 T's, or at the info address I told you, because I'm not the only education person. Like I said earlier, Wallace is one and Beryl is another one. All right, Wallace, we got any questions?
So far, I'm not seeing any.
Okay, and we're recording this. So if you need to go over it, give us a week or two and it'll be on our YouTube channel. Somebody had asked us to record it, so that's our plan. And I'm going to hang out here for a couple of minutes and in case somebody has a question. In case somebody has a question, and we're done. Thank y'all so much.